Hey up everyone, I'm back again. So I often get asked the question, what is the battery life like on the Lumia 930, and I give them like a solid response saying that it's solid depending on how you use it. I'd say that people who play a lot of games as well as a lot of web browsing on 4G, they may struggle to get through a day using the device. I have a colleague who also has one who is complaining about the battery quite a lot, and when I had a look at the device, it seems that he's got quite a lot of stuff on which could be helping to drain the battery quicker than it should be draining. So I just wanted to make a quick video here showing you some of the ways you can optimize the battery on this particular device, and I think a lot of the things that you'll find which drain the battery on this device come in the way of the settings on the device, which if I hit the right thing it would help, but we can go into the settings nevertheless, and we can see here I've got quite a few stuff on at the moment, such as location, which is somewhere around here. I can never find it when I need to. Somewhere down here, there we go. So I've got location on at the moment because I was driving before, and I like to use the Hey Cortana like to aid me going in different ways kind of thing. However, if you want to maximize a battery on this particular device, then I'm going to have to implore on you to turn this off. Yes, it will mean that Hey Cortana is turned off as well as a lot of the Cortana functionality, but if you are not necessarily using it, then I think there's going to be a big battery drain. And really what you can do is just have like a little shortcut up here, so that when you need it you can quickly turn it on and then use it to your heart's content. And when you do turn it on, you'll find that it also turns on Hey Cortana, so that's quite a nice shortcut, which is, as you can see, she's always listening. But for now we're just going to turn that off because we want to maximize the battery life here. And the next thing I'd say that you definitely need to check out for, and this is obviously quite common sense, but I see a lot of people missing it, particularly if you're coming from a Windows Phone device which is kind of lower end, is that you can actually customize the brightness profiles a lot more on the Lumia 930 than a lot of entry-level Windows phones. For example, on like the entry-level phones, you'll only find like a low, medium and high brightness setting, but with the Lumia 930 you can actually set different profiles based upon what you've got it on. So as you can see, I've got it on automatic here, so it's defaulting to the automatic profile here, and based upon how I slide it, I can have it on quite low, which as you can see is still very visible, and you know, this is quite a bright screen, so you're not going to have many issues viewing the content, but you can have it on, I'd say, about there realistically, just to get the kind of best like viewability as well as battery life. For those of you who like to like change your brightness manually, you can actually do different profiles when you've got it on low, for example. You can see here the low level is really low on mine. I use that primarily when I'm in the dark kind of thing and I don't want the brightness of the screen burning my eyes out. This is a common problem with lower end Windows phones. They don't let you actually get the screen really low, and it's quite annoying. I think Microsoft should definitely build this kind of thing in to its lower end devices, but for the medium level and the higher level, again, you can customize that to your heart's content, which is pretty cool. But for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to keep it on automatic, so you can see basically the screen, and I'm going to bump the brightness up a little bit as well. So other than that, you can also obviously have a play with the battery saver. However, I would be a bit cautious of this particular thing, because I found that when I've got it on, sometimes I've not put on certain apps which can still use the device's data, background data, and it's stopped WhatsApp messages coming through, etc. So if you're going to use a battery saver, I definitely imploring you to go into whatever you use, such as WhatsApp, and basically tick this checkbox so that you're not missing messages, because the battery saver by default will stop your WhatsApp stuff coming through, which is very annoying. But you can obviously use the battery saver. I think that it will disable some of the live tile syncing as well, which obviously will help the battery life, and because especially if you've got quite a lot of different feeds coming in. You see you've got a news feed here, and then you can put your weather feed on, your health feed and all that. It's all nice to see the information coming up, but the more you have on there, the more battery is going to be draining. So be quite careful in regards to that particular area. And obviously we've got some other things we can have a look at as well, such as the Wi-Fi. And you can see here we've got some settings which if I go into, there is a setting automatically connect to Wi-Fi hotspots. I personally disable that because I think that it's going to be scanning for these particular Wi-Fi hotspots, and obviously that's going to be draining your battery, and we don't want that. So personally, I think that Wi-Fi isn't too much of a battery drain, just leaving it on. However, if you do want the maximum battery life, you might want to turn that off. But then again, it might switch to your 4G, which will drain your battery life even more. So it's you got to be quite careful there, I think, in regards to switching that off. And if you do go into the mobile settings here, you can specify whether you want the data connection to come on after you turn the Wi-Fi off. So for example, you can get that turned off, and also you can specify what connection speed you want. 3G will definitely save you a lot of battery life. Things won't be quite as fast to load when you're out and about, but it's, at the end of the day, it's still going to connect to quite fast HSPA antennas. I don't know if it supports DC HSPA, but it could do, which is very like 4G in terms of the speed. So I definitely recommend you connect to the 3G to maximize your battery. And it's also worthwhile mentioning that you can actually specify how often things are synced if you go into the account settings on the phone. And I didn't actually know this up until quite recently, and I certainly noticed a big battery life boost by simply going through each account that I've got. I've got a few Hotmail accounts, Google accounts, etc., and just making sure they're not syncing as items arrived or based on my usage. I personally put it on just hourly for each one, because I don't need to see something straight away. Maybe you do, but I've noticed a definite battery increase simply by just making sure that is on hourly. So I definitely recommend you look into doing that. And then obviously there's the quite standard stuff really in regards to the settings, such as making sure for example your NFC is turned off. You don't need to be using that if you're not doing anything with it. Make sure your Bluetooth is turned off as well. Personally, I leave Bluetooth on because I like to connect to some Bluetooth devices here and there. but if you do want the maximum battery life, I'd recommend you get that off. I think that's probably the main things in regards to the settings. Really, you could go even further and go to the touch settings, and also take that from high to normal. I'm assuming that high uses more battery life, so you can use it in glove mode and things like that. I don't have a need for that because I don't wear gloves. And also obviously a double tap, which is quite useful. You know, it's definitely a useful feature, but I have read somewhere it does drain battery life, so you know, I would turn that off if you want the maximum battery. And if you do all these things, you know, I'm pretty much guaranteed that you should be able to get a day easy out of this device, and you won't be like an annoying colleague who's always complaining about battery life but has everything on, kind of thing. So just some tips here then. If you have a Lumia 930, it's still an awesome device, and you know, you need to get the most out of the battery. It is only 2400 mAh. I think Nokia could definitely have put a bigger battery in, but hey ho, maybe they will, or maybe Microsoft will, for the next Windows Phone flagship. So I hope you found the video informative, and if you did, hit the like button, and I will see you next time. Cheers.